Hello, my name's Mel, and you're watching Growing Together. So a couple of weeks ago, I talked to you about the importance of caring for your mental health. Today, I thought it might be quite beneficial to talk about my own mental health. So let me start by saying that I'm not a parent. So all of the information and advice and ideas that I give on this channel are based on being a teacher and an early childhood educator, but not actually from the day-to-day experience of being a parent. To be honest with you, sometimes that makes me feel like maybe my advice isn't that useful to a lot of you, but at the same time I did go to university to learn how to be both a teacher and an early childhood educator, and I now have about 10 years worth of experience being both of those things, so hopefully you guys are finding my advice and my ideas and my suggestions helpful. That's really all that they're supposed to be. But I thought that maybe some real talk might actually help as well. So, my own mental health. Honestly, for the last week and a half, it hasn't been that great. I think partly, like probably a lot of us, quarantine is getting me down. I know that, like I said, I don't have kids, so in a lot of ways I have it a lot easier, but I still haven't been able to see anyone except for my partner for the last few weeks. I also work at a school, so I haven't been able to be in lockdown the way that most people have. I know that most people have been finding working from home really hard, especially if they have kids at home. But I actually have been finding going to work really hard. I feel like I've been putting my own health and well-being on the line for other people, and I know that that's really important. Obviously, I think children are really important, or I wouldn't be a teacher. I wouldn't make this channel. But at the same time, I worry about how important that should be compared to my own physical and mental health. I'm a relatively healthy 40-year-old woman, so I'm probably not in a huge amount of danger of being really ill should I get COVID-19. Certainly, I doubt that it would be fatal to me, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't necessarily pass it on to others. So, with the exception of the 2 days a week that I teach at school and the relief teaching that I get at that school as well, going for a walk and getting groceries, I haven't been leaving my house. It's been kind of weird. I'm a reasonably social person, so the fact that I can't go out and meet up with people is very strange. I think it's worse for my partner because he is working from home, and I get to go out at least 2 days a week and do other things. And in a way, we're in a totally different headspace around quarantine, which actually is really strange for both of us and I think hasn't been helping either of our mental health. Don't get me wrong, we're fine. Just a weird thing to be in because it's hard when you don't entirely understand what the other person is talking about. Anyway, school went back for us on Monday, so we went from having a very different way of teaching to having a normal way of teaching, except that the kids are quite stressed and upset themselves, and some of them are caught up to all the stuff they've been doing at home, and some of them haven't done as much, so they're at very different points in their learning for the term. Kids are always at different points in their learning from each other, but usually you are a bit more able to keep on track and on top of what that actually means. But this week we've had kids come in who maybe we weren't as aware of, whether they were understanding what was going on or what they were being expected to do. So it just adds that little bit more pressure in terms of teaching. We've also had to have a staggered timetable so that some classes are out having recess or lunch while other classes are still in the classroom learning, so that we don't have as many children out in the playground at one time, which decreases the risk of passing anything on, obviously. So all of that adds extra pressure. For me personally, that's not as much of a big deal because I only work 2 days a week and I'm not a classroom teacher, I'm a specialist, so I see groups of children for 80 minutes per lesson and then they go back to their classroom. But I can tell that it's a lot of pressure for the other teachers that I work with, and being a reasonably empathetic person, that does add to my own personal pressure as well. So I think I've been feeling quite a bit of isolation fatigue. I'm missing my friends and my family, and I'm missing the ability to decide that I just want to go out for coffee whenever I want to, or whatever it might be. I mean, I know that on the grand scheme of things, that is not a big deal realistically. There are plenty of people who have lost loved ones to COVID-19, or who have been ill themselves with COVID-19, or various other things that have meant that people are more affected by this illness than I am. But I think we're all affected from one degree to another, and I think it's worth talking about how we're affected. Because apart from anything else, it's good to know that we're not alone in feeling certain things, and that even if we know that we've actually got it reasonably easy, it doesn't make it that easy to be okay with stuff, if that makes sense. I'm just going to have a quick sip of coffee. I think part of the thing for me is that guilt though. Rowan and I are in a pretty good position. Rowan works full-time and he's able to work from home. I work part-time, and although I have to go out, I am reasonably safe. So financially we're fine. And like I said, I haven't been affected personally by COVID-19, so there's a little bit of guilt in terms of I'm having it relatively easy while other people around me are not. And that's always hard to deal with as well. Guilt can be a bad thing for mental health. And I'm not saying that it's worse by any means than other people having severe financial issues, or having people who are ill around them, or losing loved ones, or being ill themselves, but it's definitely a real thing that is worth considering. But I think for me personally, the most difficult thing has been the rhetoric around teachers and educators from the government, because this entire time they've been arguing for the fact that children are better off in schools and better off in childcare centres. Now, whether you do or don't believe or agree with the rhetoric around that and why they think that's the case, and the evidence or lack thereof of what's actually going on with the illness and how likely children are to get it and pass it on, it has felt very much like we are very expendable. And also on a professional level, the rhetoric from our Prime Minister has been to imply that teachers are really just babysitters, and that the important thing that we add to our society is making sure that other people can work by having their kids. There's been almost no suggestion that what we do is in fact work, and I found that really disheartening. As a teacher and an early childhood educator, I know how important my job is, and I've had a lot of people in the last few months kind of almost like they realise suddenly how much work is actually involved in teaching children. To hear the Prime Minister imply that that's not the case, and that we don't have a lot of worth on professional level, we're just useful to make sure that other people can work and hold up the economy, that's really upsetting. And it doesn't make us feel, it certainly doesn't make me feel, overly much like I particularly want to work, except that of course that I do, because it's part of my self-identity and I love teaching. But teachers don't teach because it's easy. If we wanted an easy job, we would not be teachers. And I really just want to impress upon anyone that's watching this that teachers do it because we love doing it. And the idea that people around us, and especially people in power, don't value us is really disheartening and really upsetting. At a time when people's health and mental health is something that we need to all be concerned about, it really upsets me that apparently not only is our health not that important because it doesn't matter if we're at risk, but our mental health isn't that important because it doesn't matter if we are underappreciated and undervalued regularly by the people in power. Anyway, what is the point of me telling you all this? It's really mostly just because I think that it's worthwhile everyone remembering that we all have bad days. We all have things that bother us. We don't always all have great mental health, and that it's okay. Me telling you guys is me telling you that it's okay not to have a great mental health. I sit here and I tell you ideas and suggestions and what's important and what's not important and why we do the things that we do and how we can help our kids develop. But I want you guys to know that I also struggle with stuff and I also find things difficult. I guess I wanted to tell everyone that it's okay to have off days, because I have them too, and so do all the other people around us. It's important to talk to each other and stick together and be kind to each other and look out for each other. So anyway, I don't know if this video has been at all important or helpful or interesting, but I really hope that you did enjoy it and that you found it valuable. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.